No, it's yeah. I felt I wasn't quite ready to hand it over because there was just something I felt was missing. A couple of kind of some sort of little colours or whatever. I felt it needed to kind of add a kind of balance and make it feel more complete. And yeah, Chloe actually came up with this song. And when I heard it, and Stewart heard it as well, we were like, "Oh, that's got to be an album," because it sounds like a BMX Bandits song. And I don't know what that is because the remit's pretty wide, but it seemed to fit into the whole kind of story of what the album felt like it was about, and it just had that thing. It just sounded like a BMX Bandits record, and it's very hard to define what that is. And then when Stewart and I were going to sit and listen to all the tracks we'd done, I think it was that morning or the night before, I suddenly had an idea for a really short little song.
Right.
And I was like, I know tomorrow we're meant to be reviewing all the stuff and trying to figure out a running order, but I've got one more thing, and I think that's just going to make it feel like, yeah, that's right now. And when I sung it to Stewart, he was like, yeah, I know what you mean. It's just got a little bit of light that at that particular point in the album it feels like it maybe just needs a wee bit of a moment where the listener can go, it's okay, everything's fine.
So do you know when it'll be out?
We are talking of springtime, and I don't know what month exactly that means, but it seems to be, it's going to be like a little lamb bouncing out in spring, hopefully.
And you'll be doing some shows?
Yeah, currently there seems to be sort of plans to maybe do kind of a wider range of Scottish shows, like play towns that maybe something like 25 years we would have went to, but recently it would be Glasgow, Edinburgh, occasionally Dundee, but yeah, there's discussion of doing a kind of bunch of shows like that, and also hopefully some places further afield.
Right, okay.
Other places that you need to get on aeroplanes to
get
go
back
to
to
stuff.
Japan maybe?
Yeah, but I think the record will almost certainly be licensed to a Japanese label and come out there, and people I think would like to see BMX Bandits. Of course, the problem is there's lots of us, so it's not necessarily always that logistically, it's a bit like, Dexys Midnight Runners or UB40. I remember I used to see them as a kid on the telly and go, man, what are you doing having all these guys? That can't be easy, and we can't get a big share of this thing because there's so many of them. But I didn't learn a lesson from that, So I still ended up being in a band that just kind of started off as something like 4 people and morphed into being sometimes 7 or 8 people.
It's too many. When are you gonna learn?
No, basically I don't like to go lonely.
You've been doing a bit of acting as well recently, haven't you?
Yeah, that was a surprise, and it was kind of quite an unusual process. I got a message from a guy called Graham Drysdale over social media, and saying he'd written a kind of treatment for a film, and he had this character that he'd created as one of the lead characters, and he'd been thinking about it was almost like it was based on me without really knowing me. Just the kind of the type of guy he saw in his head when he thought of this character, and he decided rather than finding someone who was an actor who could play that sort of thing and show them videos of me and things like that, he would
just get the legend himself. Yeah.
And I used to do quite a lot of acting when I was a teenager, and even in my early 20s I still did quite a lot. I did kind of like some kind of community kind of theatre type things, and did some plays in like Berlin prison and things, like would go in and take shows to there, and did some sort of educational films aimed at school kids and things.
Right.
But I really hadn't been thinking about really doing that thing. But when he said to me, it's an incredible compliment when somebody says, I've got this character that I created with you in mind. Do you want to do it? And I watched a thing that he'd made many years ago that I think won an Academy Award for Best Short Film, and he hadn't done much since then. And I really liked it. When I met the guy, it was a bit like the thing I was saying earlier. I liked him as a guy, and I thought, well, I'm going to enjoy hanging out with this guy for, you know, the time that I'm making the film. At least I sort of want to be in this guy's company more, and he seems like a really good guy. So I get the feeling that the other people he's going to be working with will probably be good people as well.
Sure.
And a lot of it was there were kind of outlines of the characters and certain things that were going to happen, but it was a lot of it was us improvising.
Right. Okay.
And there's mainly, most of this time there's just two characters.
Right.
There's a couple of supplementary characters that are in it very briefly.
Is it a festive film?
It's called Viglia, and it's set over 2 Christmas Eves. Viglia is the Polish celebration of Christmas Eve, and the other character in it is a Polish actress. Well, her character's not a Polish actress, she's a Polish actress and musician, and she's really great. And yeah, it's set at Christmas Eve, and I wouldn't want to give too much away, but our paths cross 2 Christmas Eves.
Okay.
And in between, you know, there's a kind of gap where we don't see each other, and it's a sort of thing of where we are this Christmas Eve and then where we are a year later. And Graham, the director, made an interesting decision of, okay, we filmed this Christmas Eve, let's all meet in a year. And it's not about actually what had happened to us within that year, but we came back a year later.
All looking a year older.
And yeah, and I looked really pretty differently. You know, I was like something like 4 stone lighter than I was the year before, and
Wow.
the year before I had long hair and a big beard, and I was kind of clean shaven and looked pretty different. And it sort of fitted. It was like it wasn't planned that way. It wasn't like I did the kind of Robert De Niro thing in reverse where I was like, I'm going to do this for this movie. But it sort of worked because it seemed to fit into the kind of what had been happening with my character and stuff like that.
Right.
So it was a great experience, and I wrote a song for it which I sing. It's not a musical, but you know, it's a bit like if you actually just were singing a song to someone in, you know, real life.
Right.
So I wrote a little song for it that I get to sing in the movie as well. And yeah, also it was just an amazing experience for me working with Ivona, who's the actress, because I hadn't done any acting for such a long while, and for her, it just felt like everything she did was so real and so believable. It didn't, you know, I just automatically would react to what she was doing almost as a human being. You know, it wasn't necessarily reacting exactly as Douglas would, but you know, she was just, it was a really amazing experience to kind of just watch her and react to what she was doing. And yeah, and I'm interested to see how it all. I've not seen the finished.
So is the
section.
premiere in, what is it, 10 days or something?
Yeah,
Glasgow?
it's on the 18th of December.
And then after that, is it going to be like touring about wee festivals, or just?
I would imagine so, because I mean, I'm not really involved in that end of it. Obviously I'll do anything I can to support the project and, you know, try to bring it to people's attention. But it's really Graham, his baby, and like Grant, who's one of the producers, and Grant is actually interesting as well, because there's a connection there. It wasn't planned at all, because Grant's been making this film called Teenage Superstars, which is a history of kind of Scottish indie pop from I guess something like about 1984 or 5 up until about 1990.
Perfect.
So he's been making this, And I remember I got a request to do a kind of like interviews for that. And when I turned up, I was a bit like, wait a minute, you're the guy who's been the main camera operator in this thing I was doing last Christmas. This is a bit odd. And I think that's going to be a really great film. It's, he's got some, really great people in it, and I think he's got some great footage, telling the story of that time, which I think really was an incredibly important time in Scottish music, and so much came out.
Talk about that a bit in the documentary, but like, is there, what was going on? How did that happen?
I think it's a synchronicity thing. I think it just things like that just happen, and I think there was a group of like-minded people, and something happened that there was a new club started in Glasgow called Splash One. It was started by Bobby Gillespie and a bunch of his friends, and suddenly it was like a place that was like our own, because there'd be things like people like myself, like Norman and Hugh and Sean and Francis and Eugene. You would go to these places and you'd go to discos, some like night moves, and you'd play like 2 records that you connected to, and you'd be maybe waiting for the whole evening to hear these records. Or if you were in your band and you were playing in these places, a lot of the audience were still guys, with moustaches and kind of poodle perms and kind of cut off t-shirts there, who'd be kind of like, fuck off, poofs, and like, throwing stuff at you, and I always actually found that quite exciting and invigorating, and that I would enjoy the thing of like, the patter going back at them and all.
Boys in folk up, running away fast.
But and that did happen, there were times where we would have to get sneaked out the back of venues when we were playing. But suddenly, Splash One started up, and it was like the outsiders were running the place, and so other outsiders started to get drawn there, and it was
oasis.
And a lot of the people, ended up being in bands, I guess, that would probably be seen as some of the most important kind of indie bands in the kind of Scottish music history. But also other ones went on to be clothes designers or artists or filmmakers and things like that. It was just kind of creative, like-minded oddballs suddenly had a kind of gathering place. But a bit like what I was saying about creation earlier, I ended up just becoming a bit of a victim of his success. There came a point where initially there would maybe be like 50 like-minded weirdos going along, but by the end it was like a queue around the block as if they were, going to be showing the new Star Wars film or something like that, and it just became unmanageable somehow. And at that point, I guess they decided, okay, it can't be what it was anymore, so it's time to end it. And I think by that point, we'd all benefited from that thing of supporting each other and learning about different things off each other, that we suddenly were sort of mature enough to go out of the little pond but into the sea and go in our own
back into the big pond
and follow our own directions. But that initial thing, I think, was really, really important. It always reminds me of, I would hear about like Brian De Palma, Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, all used to like watch the rushes for each other's films, and make, like Brian De Palma making a really serious, important suggestion in Star Wars, which you wouldn't expect, and they'd all be doing that sort of thing in each other's sort of films, and supporting each other and bouncing off each other. And then there comes a point where they don't need to do that anymore, and they just go and they found their own legs, and I think that was sort of what happened.
So that must have brought everyone together and made things happen and helped a lot, but all those people would probably have done cool, interesting things otherwise.
Yeah, but I think
most of them would, the good ones.
I think so, but I think just having other people sort of supporting you and sort of believing in you in some way is kind of good, because there was plenty of people, of course, doing the exact opposite and just going, you're a bunch of freaks, what a bunch of losers, what a joke, this will never do anything, this is just rubbish. And that's kind of fine, because and if you're a sort of bloody-minded soul like me, you actually kind of take a certain energy and fuel from that.
Yeah.
But there's also something that's pretty great about kind of going, what, you also love this? And you also sometimes have thought maybe it'd be good if records sounded a bit more like this, and you thought, and you know, oh, I've never heard that, I've never seen that movie, and here's something I think you would really like, and just that exchange and support, I think was really great, and it wasn't like, and it's still for me it isn't like a rivalry thing. So you know, Teenage Fan Club's newest album goes to in the top 10 album chart, or you know, Bell and Sebastian have a big hit, or we sell out the Hydro. The other people in that scene, I think, aren't going, wait a minute, what about me? That should be me. How come it's them? It always, to me, has always felt like, well, that's a victory for our side.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. You know? I mean, obviously,
a bit of faith in the world and stuff.
Yeah,
There's so many terrible bands and things that are popular, you know, if something good like that happens.
And of course, I would love for some of these things to happen for me, but I don't resent it happening to other people who I feel are sort of on the same side.
How'd you lose 4 stone? What's the secret there? Welcome to
T-
Douglas T. Stewart's
Yeah,
weight loss book.
Have a broken heart. I think at that time, I was feeling pretty. But that's also a good key if you want to like have lots of fuel for writing songs. You know, if you can figure out a way, if you're kind of feeling you're a bit overweight and you're needing some new material, just get a broken heart and it sorts it all out. It's pretty amazing.
See, I'd comfort eat, so
yeah, well, it's
could
funny.
go the wrong way.
I know that's the funny thing, but I can sometimes go that way, but for some reason, I wasn't deliberately.
So were you feeling pretty crap for a good while?
Yeah, it's funny, but because it's that thing of you're feeling the worst maybe you've almost felt in your life, and at least it seems that way, and everybody's going, oh man, you look great, you're in such great shape, and you're like, right, okay, this is a bit ironic, you know. But yeah, so yeah, and I haven't put on, I haven't done that thing. I've put on a bit of it again, but I haven't put on, you know, I haven't put on the whole 4 stone again. It wasn't like when I started to get happier again, I didn't suddenly kind of just go, all right,
bring out the pies. Last time I saw you were on stage with Jarvis Cocker, and it made me think he's maybe stolen some of your moves, I think.
I don't think. I think we're synchronous. Again, it's a synchronicity thing.
Serendipity.
And Jarvis started doing pulp before I even started doing BMX. But they were going for a long while. And yeah, it's funny because another thing, Alan McGee, we were talking about creation. I remember Alan McGee's was saying to me, because I think he thought, yeah, Douglas will kind of cross over, and he's the sort of guy who might have his own TV show, or he could have his own radio program, and do these sort of things. I remember Alan kind of going, I sort of thought you were going to be Jarvis Cocker, but Jarvis Cocker became Jarvis Cocker.
Yeah.
So he did kind of notion that there was a space for a kind of someone in a pop band to do that, to become this sort of guy.
Master,
And you know, and Jarvis did it, and is so great at it, you know, and incredibly lovely guy. Incredibly interested in things and very, very generous. You know, I'm a fan, and I'm even more of a fan now. I mean, I'd met him briefly before a couple of times, but getting to kind of hang out and do the event with him in Helensburgh, you know, I was just it was that sort of thing of, by the end of the night, I was a bit like, I feel like I've been friends with him for like the last 25 years or something like that. It's funny how sometimes you just meet people and there feels like there's just that connection. And yeah, I felt that, and I thought, you know, as he was so lovely to everybody at the place, and so generous to me as the person who was asking the questions and things like that. You know, he was very open and just...
Yeah, because you were quite cheeky.
Yeah, well, I just tried to be kind of honest. Was it cheeky? I don't know, but
Well, when you
yeah, I didn't.
said he looked like a girl.
Yeah, I'm just jealous because he's such a heartthrob. You know, I'm kind of threatened by that because I mean, it's just like it was one of the things, and this used to happen to me when I'm still friends with Norman Blake, but when we were teenagers, and in our early 20s, almost every female friend I had would always go, "Oh, Norman, I love Norman. He's just so lovely. Oh, is Norman single? It's just..." And they'd be like, "Give her a break." What, me? And they kind of go, "Oh yeah, you're just Douglas, you know."
You're a good friend.
And then, almost every female I know, when this thing of I was doing this thing with Jarvis came up, everyone was like, "Oh, Jarvis." All the women were like, "Oh, Jarvis, I love Jarvis so much. Oh, he's so great." I mean, and they'd be like, "What am I, chopped liver?" But yeah, he was sort of saying, a bit like me, he was probably someone who was always thought of as being a bit of a sissy and things like that. So it's kind of, he's an unlikely sex symbol, he's not like George Clooney or something like that. But he is, he's definitely like...
he's not put any tunes for a... Oh, I think that's that, sorry.
He's got a new album coming out.
Whoa! That's good.
I know I shouldn't be actually talking too much about it, but so I won't go into it much more about that.
Exclusive.
He was talking about he's got a new album coming out, and I think it's coming out in spring. So we'll probably be having a kind of Oasis Blur battle between BMX Bandits album and Jarvis's album. But it sounds to me like I can imagine it's going to be a pretty special album.
Because he said he was taking a year off or something to see if he could still write songs, and then we never heard anything. So I thought, oh no, maybe it's all over.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from it, but it just from what he was telling me about it, I think it could be a pretty exciting album. I'm looking forward to it.
Did you meet Ivor Cutler?
Yeah, I met Ivor Cutler and interviewed him on the phone as well. And yeah, but again, I was mentioning Hugh McLaughlin, who was kind of
from the Bucky Rage.
Yeah, and who was around here, and he was one of the Pretty Flowers. And Hugh, Norman, and I put together a lot of poetry fanzine.
Right.
A lot of people fanzine culture was a big thing there, and I think we didn't really know how to get interviews with people in bands, so we thought, well, what can we do? Let's put together a fanzine of our poetry. And I don't really even think I particularly wrote poetry, but it was a bit like, well, we're doing a poetry, so I'll write some.
Mm-hmm.
And Ivor Cutler was doing an in-store appearance at the Virgin Megastore at the Healing Man's Umbrella. And I sneaked out of college and decided I was going to take him, one of these and give him our poetry fanzine. So that's what I did, and I walked in. I because he'd done so many Peel sessions and things, I expected again there was going to be like a queue, like out and round the block, people waiting to see. And I walked in the shop and I was like, it doesn't seem like there's anybody here. I mean, what's going on? I mean, this guy's a legend. And then I noticed he was standing with a girl behind one of the counters, kind of just looking a bit like nobody's talking to me. And I went over, and I can't remember who it was, but someone had told me to like to be referred to as Mr. Cutler when you first meet him, unless he invited you to call him Ivor. And so somehow I knew that, which was I think on my side, and I approached him and said, "Hello, Mr. Cutler," and he was saying, "I was just beginning to get a bit worried there," because no one had sort of like particularly turned up, and I said, "I'd like to give you this little poetry fanzine I made with a couple of my friends," and he's like, "I'll only accept it if you read me one of the poems first." So I read him a poem called "Never Trust a Fish," which was one of mine, of course, and I still don't trust fish. And he's kind of, it was as if after I finished it, he went, considered it for a little while, and his eyes were kind of twinkling, and he was like, "Oh, I felt quite at home with that." So he took the fanzine and he gave me some of these little stickers we used to apparently give out to people with funny little sayings on them, and I think a couple of other people then began to drift over, but it certainly wasn't a packed out appearance, and I saw him perform live. I think 3 times with Norman, and then I got to interview him when I was working for the BBC down the phone, and that was great as well. He told me stories about how he was great friends with Lenny Bruce, which might seem an unlikely thing, and he told great stories. He was very, very generous. He told great stories about working with the Beatles on Magical Mystery Tour, and gave some real interesting insights in that. And yeah, it was great to talk to, and yeah, I felt very, very lucky. And we ended up being label mates because he ended up being on Creation in the later years of Creation as well. But yeah, and my son, when he was younger, used to be able to recite, lots of Ivor Cut. A bit like I was able to recite lots of things like, before you had a video recorder, somehow you would see Monty Python and be able to recite the whole episode of the night before. Just somehow it went in. And Colin was able to, recite stuff like Gruts for Tea, like without thinking about it, and the songs and things, were things that he loved. And I love that thing about Ivor Cutler and another big hero of mine, Jonathan Richman, where it's very inclusive, and you can be a kid, you can be a cool 20-something-year-old, or you can be a kind of older man or lady, and it's still, you can still find something to connect in it. And that's sort of always something that I wanted to be part of what BMX Bandits were about. I didn't see it as being uncool if someone's granny liked us, or like someone's little sister liked us. I liked that, I was like, that's good, because they're not just like you because the enemy told them to. They're like you because they actually must like you.
Now that people aren't getting, enemy and stuff like that, do you think people are more free thinking of their musical taste now? Or do you think it's pretty much the same, just different? Sort of?
I think, I genuinely, and this isn't across the board, because I've got quite a lot of friends who are, in their early 20s and things, because age doesn't exist so much in the world of musicians and things like that. But I think this is almost the first time since the birth of a teenager where the current generation is more conservative than the generation before, as a general thing, and has more of a kind of self-entitled kind of nature, and just really conservative in a whole lot of ways, and ways that kind of contradict each other as well. I think generally it is a more kind of conservative and selfish generation, and I find that sort of worrying, but I sometimes think when that thing gets to a certain point, then there ends up being some sort of revolution type thing happens again. But yeah, I definitely, sometimes I'm a bit like, I remember when I started going to concerts and things like that, you would go along and you would be like, I feel like anything may happen in this next hour. This feels kind of quite dangerous and exciting, and what's going to happen. Now it's all quite polite and controlled, and audiences, it's very rare anybody's going to shout out, fuck off, get off the stage, you big freak. It just doesn't happen. And I'm not saying, I want people to be shouting abuse at people, but it just feels like so many things, it's all became very sanitized and very much the same and safe, and you go, I quite enjoyed that, but you don't necessarily go home as much now feeling your heart race, and even kind of lying in bed going, did I like that? I don't know if I liked it. I feel kind of confused and giddy, and really sort of challenged in some sort of way by what happened, and that feels like that thing's become a bit rarer. I do think there's some amazing groups, like, and young groups as well. So I think that, in some levels it's a kind of really healthy musical community, but I think the audience has become kind of conservative.
I think it's maybe because of X Factor and that sort of thing.
I think that's part of it, but I think it's a bit like, what came first,
Yeah.
the chicken or the egg,
Ah,
the
let's just
conservative
feed in
audience,
that.
or and they be,
Feeding
yeah.
the demand, isn't it?
But yeah, it's like that's not. It's like it's a kind of. I'm a fan of karaoke. I love going out and karaoke singing, and I love doing it in Japan. I think it's an amazing, wonderful, leveler thing. But it's almost like it's became some sort of very sterile karaoke thing. This kind of a big part of the music industry.
Yeah.
I don't think that can be kind of healthy. I think it's harder for weirdos and oddballs to really break through. I think they currently they're becoming more kind of